I think you are so right. I mean, I made a video not too long ago, and it was basically a response to people saying tax the 1%, which I will admit I have a bias because I am the 1%. So if you tax 1%, I get more taxes. But I do think a case could be made that maybe I should be paying more in taxes. Anyway, what I conveyed in the video is that if you live in a developed country like the United States and you make 50 grand a year compared to the world, you are the 1%. If you have $4,000 in your bank account, you have more money than half the planet. And most people don't understand that, like some people, like there is a woman right now in Kenya who's walking 3 miles to a river to go get water for her village. That's happening right now.
My mom, that was my mom in Nigeria, and she wasn't a woman. She was 11 years old. She would come back from elementary school or primary school at that time, and then when she come home, she would have to walk to the river to fetch water for her family at 11 years old.
God. And people right now are bitching about their Starbucks order not being right. At their $7 caramel macchiato. I don't even know. I don't even drink coffee. What's up, peeps? This is Todd, and welcome back to my show. I have an awesome guest for you today because he is a professional race car driver for Nascar. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Jesse Iwuji.
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Hey, thank you for coming on. I wanted to have you on because you have an incredible story, and it's just super awesome that you're a race car driver. That's so many people dream of being a race car driver, so it's cool to actually meet one in person and be talking about this. But yeah, I know that we met on Instagram, and you're looking to get into more real estate deals, and we thought we should do an interview for the people because a lot of the stuff you're talking about will be valuable to them too. So what if you give a little bit about your background, maybe how you came to be a professional NASCAR driver and why investing in real estate is important to you?
Yeah, most definitely. So originally I'm from Dallas, Texas. Both of my parents immigrated from Nigeria to the U.S. back in the 80s before deciding to settle in Dallas and have me and my two brothers and my sister. And while growing up in Texas, everyone knows that sports there is huge, especially football. So I had this big goal and dream to go off to college and play college football. And I worked really hard in high school to make that happen because when I first started playing football, I didn't have a lot of experience. I never played little league or anything like that. So, my first go at football was in 7th grade and in middle school, and I wasn't good at all. I had some speed, but I just wasn't good. So worked hard all through the years and eventually finally got myself to a point where I had outworked the people who were more talented than me. And then I finally put myself in a position where I was starting. And that allowed me to get looked at by a few schools. And eventually the Naval Academy was one of them that was recruiting me. So I just looked at the opportunity to go to that school as a great one, go off to a really good school, get a great education, be able to play football for a great team. And then also when I graduated from the Naval Academy, be able to have a career pretty much started for me as an officer in the United States Navy. So I took that opportunity, went to Naval Academy, played there all 4 years. I had a lot of fun doing that. Graduated in 2010 and became a surface warfare officer in the Navy. And for those who don't know what a surface warfare officer is, you see in my background, you see those ships, those destroyers and stuff like that. That's basically what we do. We drive ships and sometimes we drive them full tilt like that. But did that for my first 4 years in the Navy. I was on 2 different ships, a minesweeper and an amphib. And then in between my off time, I guess during my off time between the ships and stuff, when I was coming back from deployments and all that, because I had deployed twice, during my free time back in San Diego, I was starting to develop this passion for cars and racing. And, football was done for me. I wasn't playing football anymore. So I needed like that next big thing, the next exciting thing. And racing was it. So I had bought a Corvette and I used to take it to road course tracks near me in Southern California. And after, a few years of doing that, I finally decided one day, I was like, you know what? I really like going to the track. I love cars. I love going fast. Why not try to, take this big jump and this big leap into motorsports? Why not try to become a professional race car driver? I don't know what to do or how to get there. I don't come from a racing family. I don't come from a wealthy family. I make decent money in the Navy. We're making, decent money. I mean, it's good enough to have a good life, but not enough to really professionally race. So I was like, how am I going to make this happen? And I was sitting in my room one night and I just took my whiteboard off my wall. I erased whatever goals I had on there and I just wrote the big goal, become a professional driver. the next thing I knew to do was immediately start doing research. I was like, okay, let me research. How do you become a pro driver? Where's the first place I can look? Oh, let me go on Google. Let me type in how to become a professional race car driver. Well, with anything, especially on the internet nowadays, there's a lot of negativity out there. If you go type in anything on Google, like how to do this, how to do that, it's probably going to lead you immediately to a forum. When you get to the forum, you're going to see a lot of naysayers. You're going to be like, you can't do it because of this and that. You don't come from a racing family. You got to have a lot of money. You got to have this. You got to have that. If you're not rich, you're not going to be able to make it. If your name isn't this, you're not going to make it. If you're not this color or race, you're not going to make it. All these different things. And I was like, you know what? I already have a vision in my head, seeing myself become a pro driver. So I was like, you know, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And obviously the funding part was a big part. So I decided to start my own business on the side. I started my own business to make extra money while still serving active duty in the Navy so that I could have extra funds to actually get myself into a race car. Then I bought a racing simulator. I put it in my house and all of a sudden trained myself every single day for hours and hours every day to learn how to drive a race car on a racing simulator. And then eventually finally got myself into a race car by meeting some people and networking. And that eventually started leading me up the ranks of NASCAR. And I just worked hard every single year to continue to find more funding, network with more people, find more sponsors, build my business, do everything I could while still serving in the Navy, so that I could actually continue to keep racing. And eventually I started, you know, in the lowest level of NASCAR, which is the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series, which is a late model stock car, and eventually moved my way up over the last 5 years. And now I'm racing at the second highest level of NASCAR in the NASCAR Xfinity Series as one of 2 African Americans racing period in the National Series of NASCAR, and the only service member who's still serving and also racing in NASCAR.
Wow. That that is incredible. That is okay. So that's just, it's so awesome. So you're an accomplished football player. You're still serving in the Navy. Thank you for your service, by the way. I think a lot of people take our freedoms for granted. And most of the men in my family serve. I'm actually the first generation in my family to not go in the Marine Corps. So I understand how difficult it can be. And thank you for everything you do over there. And while you're serving in the Navy, you figure out you want to be a professional driver, and you just do the research, you grind it out, and you figure out how. And now you're racing at the second highest level. I'm sure, is your goal to be at the first highest level in X amount of years, or okay?
Yeah, the goal is to make it all the way to the top of NASCAR. We're going to get there. It's not easy at all. A lot of the people I'm racing against, they started when they're little. A lot of them come from racing families where their dad and their dad's dad have been racing in NASCAR and stuff like that. Or, you know, their parents are, you know, I don't know, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Walmart or something like that. You know, like they just come from rich families where funding isn't the issue at all. So all you got to do is really hop in the car and learn how to drive. And, you know, they don't have to think about the money part. Whereas for me, I didn't come from that. I think my parents have given me a total of $500 for my racing, and a racing weekend can cost $50 to $100 to $200,000 depending on what team you're on. So you know, it costs a lot of money, but we've been able to make it happen because it's just been a steady grind of, okay, if this doesn't work, what's the next thing you can do, and just taking actionable steps on a daily basis, and never quitting and just staying strong enough long enough.
That is awesome. Well, your parents may not have given you a lot of money, but they certainly instilled a work ethic in you that has made you say never say die, and you're doing it, man. So, okay, I think we have a unique opportunity here because there's a lot. Gosh, I'm always concerned about how I say this because it can get so offensive to some people, but there's a lot of, let's say, propaganda out there right now that, well, you can't succeed in this country if you're black, or you can't succeed in this country if you're female, or if you're gay, or if you're, you know, whatever it is, whatever it is that isn't the straight, white, rich male. And in your experience, and I understand NASCAR is probably, very heavily dominated by people who don't look like you, you know, like hockey. So, which is fine.
I like hockey too.
I like hockey too. It's a great sport. But in your experience, do you think in modern times, like today, do you think that race or gender or anything like that, is that really a true barrier, or do people just think it's a barrier?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tough question. So it can be a barrier sometimes, but this is the thing. It's only really a barrier if you let it be a barrier. At the end of the day, racism does exist in this world. There are people who are racist. There's people who aren't going to like you because you look a certain way, or you're a certain gender, or they're just not going to respect you, period, because of that. And it's going to be because of their preconceived notions of what they've seen of your particular race or gender or religion or whatever. And that's just how they are. I mean, we're human beings, and typically how we're able to survive is we see things, we take information in, and then we form these preconceived judgments about something, and that's what we are able to do to keep ourselves safe or be able to execute on something. It's just human nature, and sometimes it goes bad, and when it goes bad, that's what's called racism and all that stuff. Now, that stuff is out there, and yes, that stuff can be a barrier, but the thing is, a barrier isn't something that is impenetrable. So that's where I think people get caught up. People see, oh, there's a barrier, all of a sudden I can't get through it. If you're getting chased by a lion and you see a fence, are you just going to stop and be like, you know what, it's done? Like, this thing's about to eat me. That's it. No, you're going to either find your way above it, through it, under it, around it, some way, but you're going to find a way. If you really want to survive, you're going to find a way. And that's what I tell people about. It's all about staying strong enough, long enough. You're going to have a lot of barriers through. Even if you get past a color barrier, all of a sudden, sometimes there's the money barrier, or sometimes there's the education barrier, there's this barrier, there's all these different barriers. That's life's journey. Anytime you're going after something that is above and beyond the norm, like, you are going to find barriers. And it doesn't matter what color you are or where you come from, there is always going to be barriers. But the only way to succeed is staying strong enough, long enough. You have to push through every single barrier. You're going over, under, around, through, and guess what? Right after that barrier, there's probably going to be another and another. So the thing is, the only thing that can actually truly stop you is you, and that's it. No one controls your life. No one controls your journey. They can slow it down. They can make it a lot more difficult. But guess what? The only person who can actually truly stop you is yourself. You're in full control of your whole life. There is no barrier at all that can stop you. There is no barrier at all that controls your fate. It's only you. So yeah, maybe the color of your skin is slowing you down in a particular journey that you're going through. It could be, yes, because there's obviously going to be people along the way who make decisions that are going to make your life a little bit easier or harder. Yes. So yeah, that can happen, but guess what? They can't stop you. That's it. Like, you can find a way to finesse around anything.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that there are, as you stated, there are a lot of barriers out there that have nothing to do with your gender, sexual orientation, or race. I mean, this is not a topic that a lot of people want to talk about, but like, we talk about privilege, right? And some people are just born more intelligent. You know what I mean? Like, some people are just born smarter, and some people are born more beautiful or taller or more talented at XYZ. And I think you have to run your own race, which I guess for you have to drive your own race. But it doesn't necessarily, not that it doesn't matter where you start, but I think that in the real world, nobody cares. You know what I mean?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. And that's
cares.
something that I had to figure out when I was young. And I will say this, I grew up in a hick town. I think I was one of like 4 black people in my town, whatever. When I get out of there, you know, I go in the workforce after college, and I am blessed that I'm pretty immediately making 6 figures. And it's just because I'm outworking everybody, just similar to how, you know, you were outworking everybody. And I have never once experienced like being paid less because of what I look like not once. In fact, on the contrary, I probably make more than a lot of my peers just because I was out hustling. But I thought for a second, because I invest in real estate, that's what I do. And I thought for a second, well, what if it were true? What if I was making less money than my counterparts because of some exterior factor? When investing in real estate, the banker won't care. Like on a personal level, he might like care about you and say, man, that sucks. But at the end of the day, the numbers are the numbers. And if you want to get approved for Y, you have to make X. And so it's like, hey, you know, yeah, I make 100,000, but if I was, you know, straight, or if I was male, or if I was white, I would make 150,000. And that's why I can't get approved for this building. The banker doesn't give a shit. Like, it's like, oh, well, you have to do this. So for me, understanding that nobody cares about whatever problems that I have going forward, that has been a huge help. And just like, okay, well, if I want it, I might have to work harder. I might have to go at it and hustle more than somebody else who doesn't. But am I going to just cry about it or am I going to go after it?
Yep, exactly. That's so true. So it's funny that you mentioned this because I just before I got on this podcast, I made a not an Instagram post, but a Twitter post today because somebody had reached out to me and basically said, "Hey, thank you so much for inspiring me." I had they had some homework assignment where it was talking about, hey, does if you start life at a certain I would say degree where some people start off rich, some people start off poor, like does that really matter towards exactly what we're talking about? And then he's like, thank you so much for helping me realize that it really doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, like you got to grind. And so I posted it on Twitter, like exact message that the guy sent me. And I also had in my caption, and in my caption, I pretty much said, life is a card game. At the end of the day, life's a card game. We're all dealt a certain hand, and the hand that you're dealt does not immediately disqualify you. It doesn't immediately make it where, oh, I lost a game. No, it's like you can be dealt a very nice hand, and getting and winning the card game might be a lot simpler, or you can be dealt a very bad hand and winning the card game is going to be a lot more difficult. But even if you're dealt a bad hand, if you learn how to finesse through the whole thing, if you have a really good poker face, if you can just keep on getting through, you actually can still win the game. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult. So we're all dealt a certain hand. That is life. We are not all going to be dealt the same exact hand. We can sit here as people in this country and be like, oh man, like I'm never gonna get to this because I'm just being held down. I wasn't given the same opportunity. There's people in other countries, I would say third world countries, that are looking at us like, are you kidding me? You're making like 100 times the amount of money a year than we are over here, and some of our people are coming over to your country and outworking you, and actually ended up being really, really rich. So we shouldn't be complaining at all here. We have so many blessings. We all start off in a different place in life. Even if you're only making, $10 to $15 an hour here and you think your life sucks, guess what? There's someone who's in India who's living on a dirt road right now, and the only water they get to drink is what's on the ground. Like there's people living that life right now. So if you think your life is horrible here, just open up your eyes. There's a different world out there.
I love it that you bring that up because I've experienced this. I've had experience with this in my own business where I've had Americans work for me and I've had immigrants work for me. And every time the immigrants work harder and they seem to be more grateful for the opportunity and they go out and they hustle it and they rise above, where the Americans are probably complaining about how life is unfair. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. It's just we take some things for granted, but I think you are so right. I mean, I made a video not too long ago, and it was basically a response to people saying tax the 1%, which I will admit I have a bias because I am the 1%. So if they tax 1%, I get more taxes. But I do think a case could be made that maybe I should be paying more in taxes. Anyway, what I conveyed in the video is that if you live in a developed country like the United States and you make 50 grand a year compared to the world, you are the 1%. If you have $4,000 in your bank account, you have more money than half the planet. And most people don't understand that, some people like there is a woman right now in Kenya who's walking 3 miles to a river to go get water for her village. That's happening right now.
My mom, that was my mom in Nigeria. And then she wasn't a woman. She was 11 years old. She would come back from elementary school or primary school at that time. And then when she would come home, she would have to walk to the river to fetch water for her family at 11 years old.
God. And people right now are bitching about their Starbucks order not being right. That their $7 caramel macchiato. I don't even know. I don't even drink coffee, but that is incredible. That's awesome. So now your parents, I mean, they must be just like over the moon proud of you for being a professional driver, for going to the Navy. Like, are they still around? They're still in your life and everything?
Yeah. So both of my parents still together, 30 something years. But no, they're pretty excited about everything. They're super proud. But they're proud of all their kids. All the kids have gone to college. All the kids are doing really well. Like both of my brothers they both played college football too. Both of them are medical device salesmen. Both of them are usually number 1 to 3 in their company, or at least in their region or whatever, however they do it. They're always killing it. They've both been at least number 1 at least once over the last few years. And the one works for Baxter, the other one works for Medtronics now. And then my sister, she's a nurse. She started her own family too. Now she's married and all that stuff. So everyone's doing well. And then both of my brothers have now jumped into the business side of things with me. And that's how we got our trucking company going now. 2 years ago, we started that. So we have semi trucks right now on the road as we speak. And then also, they're also now jumping into the real estate space with me.
That is incredible. That's awesome. Okay, so your parents did a phenomenal job, just like was that a big thing for your parents? I mean, coming from the humble beginnings of your mom, literally as an 11-year-old fetching water, how did she translate that work ethic into you guys? Was that just like growing up, like, hey, never complain, always grind? Like, what was her message to you guys?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, my mom never really had a message to us. She wasn't the talker. She was the doer. So she would show us through her actions that, hey, this is how you succeed in life. So she was when she first came to the country with my dad, she was a maid at some like motels and stuff, and she knew that wasn't going to be her life for the rest of life. Like she was like, look, even though I'm coming from Nigeria over here, I don't have anything, and I'm a maid right now. Like this is not where life's going to end. So she decided to go get her education, became a nurse, started working really hard as a nurse. And, she could have easily worked, 3 12-hour shifts a week or something like that, or whatever, just a normal thing. She decided, no, I'm going to do a lot more than that so I can make some money. So she decided to work 7 days a week, all nights, 12 hours each one of those days, and overtime whenever they allowed her to do overtime. And she did that 7 days a week, every single day of the year, every year for many, many years. And then eventually in 97, decided now she had saved up a bunch of money because she was working so hard. Now she was going to start her own business, and she started a party supply store. And she didn't quit her nursing job. So she still worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But then on the other 12 hours, she would spend about 8 or 9 of those hours basically running the store each day. That only left about 3 to 4 hours of sleep each day. And she did this 7 days a week she had that store for at least, I would say 4 years or so before finally she was like, hey, like I need to like chill out or I'm not going to live long. So the store went well. The store actually did really well. She just finally got to the point where she's like, hey, I've saved up enough. Now it's time to jump into some other stuff. So then she went back and got some more education. And then I think rised up a little bit more in her nursing job. And but she showed us through her actions that, hey, work hard work, you actually get somewhere. My dad was the same way too. He worked full-time jobs, had a business on the side too, did all that stuff. And together, they just showed us like, hey, like this is how you succeed. They didn't have to tell us, they didn't have to sit down and say, this is what you got to do. They just made sure we never got off path. So they were very strict. Made sure we always made good grades, and if we didn't, they took things away from us. And when I say took things away, I missed half of my football year in 8th grade because I had a C on a report card. So some parents let their kids have C's, and it's all good. For me, a C meant no football, and I missed half my season in 8th grade year. That really woke me up.
Wow. Yeah. So what's crazy about that, and what I love about it too, is I think certainly, so obviously your parents work hard and you work very hard. And I think certainly it wouldn't be completely out of left field to say, man, it's unfair that your mom had to work that much. Like, it's not fair that she had to work a job 12 hours a day and then ran a business on the side for 8 or 9 hours a day. Like, that's not fair. And it just goes back to like, man, sometimes the hand you're dealt isn't considered fair. And sometimes your starting line is way below somebody else's starting line, but you can either complain about it or you can push through it. And that's exactly what your parents did. And not that I'm commanding anyone to go out and, work 20 hours a day and sleep 4. I don't necessarily believe that that's the answer for everyone, but I think your story, your parents' story, and my story proves that if you want it bad enough, you will find a way. And maybe that means you're working around the clock, but if that's what it takes to get to where your dreams are, I mean, that's what I wasn't as intense as your mom was, but when I first started off in my sales career, I was working 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I was just outworking everyone. And, some people think that's crazy, and maybe it is, but after 9 months, I was making, 120,000 as a 22-year-old who dropped out of college. And because of that, I was able to start buying real estate. And that's where things really took off for me. So, man, I think, I'm so happy we're doing this podcast today because like it's difficult as just I love having guests on that share the same message, right? Because it's
Yeah.
difficult to preach this stuff and have people say, oh, well, it's easy for you because you're a millionaire. It's easy for you because you made all this money. And it's like, well, I didn't start out that way. You know, I was
Yeah.
raised by a single mom, and for most people watching this don't actually know, but you've been real with me, so I'm gonna be real with you.
Mhm.
My own father was a wife beater and a child molester. So I'll let everybody connect the dots on that. And whatever money my mom had saved, he spent it all on drugs and gambling, and then he left. And he was in charge of paying the mortgage in their relationship, which I didn't know till later. They were able to buy some small, house. It was probably a crappy house, but at least they owned it. But he was lying to her. He was lying to my mom about paying the mortgage every month. Instead, he was using it for drugs. And so after he left, my mom started getting letters about foreclosures. So we ended up losing the house. And we had to, we were scrambling around to not be homeless. And my mom somehow got us a rental. But, she taught me such a good work ethic. And, I dropped out of college when I was 22. I became a millionaire 3 years later. And it's just, you have to grind, it might not be fair. And, but you have to do it. You have to run your own race. And I think you are a huge proof of that.
Yep. So and that's a crazy story. That's rough. That is not easy. I'm super blessed that I didn't have to come from that. I'm not saying that our childhood was completely just pretty the whole time. I mean, my parents had their issues too, but luckily they stayed together. Thankfully, thank God, faith. But every family goes through issues, and yours, that's tough. That is not easy at all. But you did not let that define you. Les Brown has this amazing quote. I don't know if you listen to Les Brown at all, but he said, never let someone's opinion of you become your reality. Most people will look at you and look at your family and look at your life and be like, oh yeah, you're never going to make it because of that. You could, because of this and that, you're just going to become this, you're going to become your father or whatever. But you never let anyone's opinion of you become your reality. You knew where you're supposed to be. You had a vision that was given to you. It's in your head. You knew, when you had that vision of where you're supposed to be or who you're supposed to become, that means it's already done. It's actually already done. You just now have to do the actionable steps and have faith and understand that, hey, you are going to get there as long as you grind every single day. You push every day. You find new, unique ways to try to advance every single day. You get up a little bit earlier than everybody. Even if you're getting up an hour earlier than everybody, well, guess what? All the people you're competing against, if you get up an hour earlier than them, at the end of the year, you're now 365 hours ahead of those people. 2 years later, you're even more and more and more. It's just these little things, and these just little things that you're doing every single day. When people ask, how many push-ups do I got to do to get stronger? As many as it takes. Okay, how many reps do I got to do? As many as necessary. You just got to do as much as it takes. There is no number. There is no set thing. It's not definite. It's indefinite. Whatever it takes, and that's what you did.
Yeah, well, and that's what you did as well. I mean, you had the goal of becoming a race car driver in NASCAR, and you started from nothing in that industry. You didn't really know anything, and then you're like, all right, I'll figure it out. What do I do every single day? Outwork, out hustle. You got to network. And I think that is incredible. Now, let me ask you a question, and this is going to be another difficult one to answer, unfortunately. But I'd be curious to know your opinion on this. And I have an opinion, which I'll share after you give your response. But what is your opinion on the idea of wealth inequality? Forget about between races and genders, just the fact that some people have more money and some people have less money. And is it a problem? And if so, why or how to correct it? So what would you say to that?
So in some countries, it's a major problem because when there's like huge corruption in a government, every government has corruption, but there's some countries where it's just horrible. But here in this country, we have this thing called capitalism, and I love capitalism. It's so cool because it just straight up, basically all it means is hey, effort and you win. That's it. Effort and you win. And that's how it is in this country. So yeah, there's people who are wealthy and there's people who aren't. And some people are all about, well, the wealthy people need to give to the non-wealthy. Well, guess what? There's no law that says you're not allowed to be wealthy. If you don't have money, there's nothing that says you can't go be wealthy. We can all go be it, coming from anything. There's people who literally come off the streets eating out of trash cans and eventually work their way up into a position where they're making millions of dollars. And I'm not saying everyone has to go after millions of dollars. Even getting to a point where you're making 100,000 a year or 200 or something like that, that's still good money. I mean, if you're making 200 grand a year, life is good. Like you're not in a bad place at all. Even 100,000 a year, life is still pretty good. You're not going to be suffering. There, for me, I'm all about, you just put the effort in every single day. Effort will get you to the goals. There's going to be wealthy people and there's going to be non-wealthy, and you are in control of your journey. If you decide to stay non-wealthy, that is all on you. There is nothing out there that's stopping you. There are somewhat systematic things that will slow you down, but there's no systematic things that will actually stop you. It's all on you. It's all about where you're going to put your mind. It's all about mindset. Get your mindset in the right place, you become dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think I completely agree with you about, and I know there are a lot of young people today in the United States who think that like socialism and communism is the way to go. But if you look at other countries where that's there, the government is so corrupt and it's so bad. Like,
Yeah.
but what people don't understand is like, they're like, oh, well, I don't make a lot of money. And people who do make a lot of money, they'll give some, so my life is better. That's what they think. They don't actually know that the government takes everything and they have to somehow not be corrupt and redistribute it all equally. Like they don't actually get that doesn't happen in other countries. Like look at Venezuela and just all these other things that are going on. But I think you're absolutely right. So I've always been in sales and I've always run my own companies. So in a sales job, it's commission. So if I make money, it's because I go out and I work. And so there was never a point in time where I was making less money than someone and I said, oh, it's not fair. Oh, it's because I'm black and they're white. It's because I'm young and they have experience. It was like, oh, if I want to make more money, I literally get paid commission on how many sales I make and what the amount of those sales are. So I just need to go work more. And that's why I was working 17 hours a day. And with my real estate company, I have a lot of people, you know, I made a lot of money in real estate and it's been phenomenal. And I have people coming to me and saying like, well, do you think it's ethical? And I'm always curious about that. I know it's going to crack you up. I'm curious about that because what I'm doing is,
oh my God.
Right? So my wife and I, when we got into real estate, we made the conscious decision we would never raise the rent on anyone ever for any reason. The only reason someone's rent would go up is if they decide to upgrade units, like a bigger one or, you know, a better one, whatever. And so because of that, because we provide the housekeeping services and the maid and all that stuff, we've literally never missed a month's worth of rent, not even a day's worth of rent. And that's the reason why we've made a lot of money is because through capitalism, we provide a superior product or service and the people choose. And that's the difference between capitalism and communism is with capitalism, the people decide, the market tells you what's good and what's not. And the market is people. And so the fact that if you want to succeed in this country or any country that has capitalism, well, then you have to go work hard and you have to provide either a better service or a better product, or maybe the same product for a lower cost, whatever it is. And then more customers will buy your product. And I think it's funny, a lot of people saying, you know, people like to bash Jeff Bezos for making Amazon so big and so successful. And it's like, dude, Amazon used to be nothing. But he was so customer centric that millions of people around the world chose to do business with him. And now he's the richest man in the world. And but it's because he provided a superior product or service at the time. Like that's why he got so big.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he provided value to people. That's the thing. He didn't like people like get mad at rich people thinking, oh, money just somehow just found its way into their bank account. No, they went out and worked hard to provide some type of value to people, a large group of people or the company. And so it provides some type of service, some type of product, and people are like, hey, I'm willing to pay for it. Like if you don't want someone to be rich, then don't buy their stuff then. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, like don't buy their stuff. Like if you're gonna, are you gonna use it and all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, like, you know, Jeff Bezos, you know, screw that guy. No, like the guy, like he worked hard to get to where he's at. He started like in a freaking like a back room with a super wimpy sign that said Amazon that was like spray painted. Like that's where he started. But he, because of capitalism, because of how this country is structured, he was able to work his way up. Like you can do that, and it doesn't matter the color of your skin. I was on a call just 2 weeks ago with the son of the he's top 5 richest person I believe in the country. And guess what? He's black. He's black, and he didn't become rich now. He became rich like back when there was a little bit more racism. But he grinded to make his way there. Like at the end of the day, it's capitalism. Capitalism is set up where Like capitalism doesn't really look at color, it doesn't look at gender, it doesn't look at your sexual orientation, your religion. It doesn't matter. Like as long as you learn how to finesse, you can get your way through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, and that's that's exactly what I love about this system is because you're absolutely right. It doesn't care what you look like. It doesn't care who you are. All it cares is if you're providing a superior product or service. So like if I'm going to go get my haircut or whatever, if the best barber in town is a transgender, lesbian, vegan, feminist with rainbow colored hair, I'm going to that barber because she's the best, right? Like it doesn't matter. So I think you're absolutely right. I had this day where probably to this point was one of the most important days of my life as far as what I thought was possible with business and income. And it was with my sales job. It was commission. It was also real estate. And I made about $40,000 in a day. And
Wow.
I came, thank you. It was awesome. Well, and I came from, when I was 12, my mom was a single mother working minimum wage to support 3 kids. Right. And so I made $40,000 in a day. And that it was so mind blowing to me that you could actually go out and make that. And there are people that make a lot more than that based on the value that they're bringing. And that it also told me something true too, is, there will always, even if there was a communist society, which I don't believe there should be, but even if there was something like that here, there will always be wealth inequality because even if people have the same income level, their behavior, what they're going to do with that income is going to be completely different. This is another hard topic, but I was doing some research because I grew up poor, and my whole thought when I was growing up poor is I'm going to become rich someday. And I'm going to share all these secrets with everybody else so that everyone can become rich. And I was naive enough when I was young to think that I could actually solve poverty. I thought I could solve it through teaching financial literacy. And I really did believe that. I was a much better person when I was younger. And my heart broke. My heart shattered when I figured out that I could give people the information and they could still ignore it and choose to go, screw around and not have any money. And one thing that just totally wrecked me is, and this is a fact, anyone can go look this up, people who make $16,000 or less per year, on average spend $400 per year on lottery tickets. And it's that just broke me. Cause it's man, if $400, if you just take that, not that $400 a year is a ton of money, but if you only make 16,000, dude, $400 a year, if you just start putting that away and saving it and investing it, that could be the difference between you starting that business or not starting it, which is going to produce way more than some lottery tickets will. It's just wild.
So what pretty much what you're saying right there is, and my agent actually told me this. I love this quote. It's some people don't want to participate in their own rescue. And I learned that the hard way, just like you. I used to the same thing, and I still do. I give away information. I give away a lot of information to help a lot of people. I get anywhere from 30, 40, 50, 60 DMs between all of my social media accounts on a daily basis. I answer every single one of them, not always within the same day, but hopefully within a day or two. Answer all of them every single day. And some people were asking for information, just how to, help them succeed in life or do whatever, get into racing, start a business, whatever. And I help them, and luckily I've been organized enough to write out different write-ups on how to do certain things. So I don't have to retype it out every single time. And I send them. And when I send this stuff, it's like a book of stuff that I've written out and it's organized. And some people will get it and just squander it. And because they just don't want to participate in their own rescue. That's just sometimes human nature, where some people at the end of the day, it's all mindset. It's not about this magical list. I can go write out a step-by-step process from start to finish on how you can go from making 16 grand a year to making a lot more than that. I can write it out for you and show you these are the exact steps. But at the end of the day, it does not matter. Mindset is the biggest thing. If your mindset's not in a place where you are willing to sacrifice, be very relentless, to be disciplined, to be able to give it, to put everything all in and not care if you lose it because you can find a way to get it back. If your mindset's not in that place, you'll never succeed. And the thing is, a lot of people who are given these steps to success, a lot of times their just mindset isn't in the right place. And once I really realized it when I started reading the Robert Kiyosaki books on, Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's really when it hit. And it's probably the second or third time I listened to those books where I was like, okay, now it makes sense. It's all mindset. When I realized that, I began, when people start reaching out to me for how to succeed in whatever, I first start talking to them about getting their mindset right, and they look at me crazy. They're like, hey, like tell me how to like make money. I'm like, no, like I need to get here right. When I know this is right, then I'll help you. But if I don't have this right, then nothing's gonna work, and some people will be like, okay, whatever, and that's cool. They're gonna go live their life and never get to where they want to go.
Right. No. And that unfortunately is the truth about why there will always be inequality, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
of wealth or, of physical fitness, or some people just aren't willing to put in the work. And I know, what was it? AOC got a lot of flack, because I think part of her Green New Deal was like, we should tax the rich so people who are unable and unwilling to work can have money. And I totally get unable. Like if you have a disability
Unable,
and
yeah,
you can't work and you're like,
mhm,
you literally can't go do anything, yes, let's help those people out.
mhm,
We are way too good of a country to just say, oh, you're disabled, well, you're going to starve to death. No, we'll take care of them.
mhm.
But unwilling, that's something different. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
unwilling, yeah.
right. It just doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about this a lot because part of my mission when I was younger is to figure out, I actually wanted to make a documentary about like what contributes to poverty and how do we solve it. And there are people born into terrible circumstances, especially in
Mhm.
other countries, but even in the
Yeah.
United States.
Mhm.
There are people who are dealt a really bad hand. There are some people who actually would benefit from a handout and then they can get to their feet.
Mhm.
And I do believe that. And
Mhm.
I also believe that some people, when you give them money, they'll choose to go buy cigarettes and ho-hos and
Mhm.
they won't actually do anything with it. And that's why most
Mhm.
lottery winners go broke. And you've
Oh yeah.
probably seen it being in professional sports. I mean, I actually he'll remain nameless because I didn't tell him I was going to be talking about this, but I had a professional football player DM me a couple days ago
Mhm.
and basically asked my advice on how to invest in real estate because he sees so many rookie players that
Mhm.
literally become millionaires overnight.
Mhm.
And as soon as they're done with their NFL career, they're all go broke. And it's because they
Bro.
never learned the discipline about how to grow
Mhm.
their money.
Yeah, yeah, mindset. It's all the mindset thing. They never learned. And yeah, so like you were mentioning earlier, like yeah, some people are dealt a really, really bad hand, and yeah, maybe a little handout would help them get on their feet. Like it'd be cool, like if we could create this system where it's like, yeah, maybe they could get that handout, so it would help them because that handout basically is just like if me and you are trying to get on our feet in real estate and we need an investor, we know we have the idea, we know exactly how to make this happen, the property is right there. We just need an investment to actually get it because cash is king. You just need the cash, so that's almost in a way a handout. But these people is almost like if we could basically create some type of system that educates them financially, like with financial literacy, so their mindset gets in the right place. And the moment they can pass some type of, test, however it is, that basically showcases that, hey, their mindset's actually in a place where they're not going to squander everything and they can actually now go and succeed, then all of a sudden they get the handout. But if they just got it without having the right financial literacy or just getting their mindset in the right place, they're definitely going to lose it. That's why, like if people are wanting this, socialism, communism, whatever, like, oh yeah, just give money to the people who don't have, they're not, it's not gonna do anything unless their mind's in the right place. Like if I can jump into a Chevy Camaro and then someone who's never driven before jump into a Ferrari. Yeah, you're gonna have like the faster car, the quicker car, but if you were never taught how to drive and utilize that car to its fullest and its maximum potential, I'll still beat you in the Camaro.
Mm,
So, but because I've learned how to drive fast. If you haven't learned how to drive fast and you jump in a fast car, you'll never maximize it. So the only way to maximize money is if you actually get the financial literacy and you learn and get your mindset in a place where you can actually make it most valuable.
right. Yeah. And I think that goes for lots of things, even beyond economics. The sport that I played growing up was boxing. So I played football for a little bit in high school and ended up quit that to be a boxer. And I'm not a very big guy. I know you can't tell over Zoom, but I'm 5'9", and I've been 5'9" for since high school. So by virtue of that, I was usually fighting guys that were taller than me. And although in boxing there's a weight class, I got into some fights outside of the ring, and most of the guys I fought were bigger than me. And to date, I have never actually lost a fight, and it's because I was just so determined in my craft and just being the best that I could possibly be. And what I loved about boxing is it stripped everything else away. There were no excuses if I lost because it was just me and one other guy. So I couldn't blame anyone. And if I won, it was because I outworked them. It was I out hustled them. And what I loved about it is it stripped everything away to what we were talking about earlier, where it just doesn't matter. Someone's taller than you, doesn't matter. Put up your fist. Someone's heavier than you, but what are you going to do? You're going to lie there and just let them wail on you? You know, none of that stuff matters. You just have to go out and you have to do it. And I think people today either think that they deserve a handout, they deserve, you know, more equality, a more equal starting place, or they're just unwilling to put in the work. But whatever it is, I mean, gosh, I'm so excited when I talk to guys like you, because you're going to go off. You've already done incredible things, and it's only going to go up for you. And you have this message where it's like, yeah, you know, sometimes life sucks, and you know what? You just got to hustle like that. That's it.
Yeah. Grind. That's it. You got to grind. You got to put in the effort every single day. And it's not easy. You know, it's definitely difficult for sure. And the thing is, you know, people forget life and going after whatever going after is a cycle. So what happens is we start going up, like you're going to start somewhere in that cycle. Like me going after racing, I started kind of like in this middle way where immediately I started experiencing some type of success. So I'm like, oh man, that's cool. And it starts going up. Well, guess what? Life's a cycle. So then eventually I had to hit the bottom part. And I hit the bottom part a few times now in this whole cycle. And guess what? It sucks. But when you get to the bottom, that doesn't mean that it's quitting time. At that point where you're at the bottom, and most people who don't have a strong mindset would quit, that's a point where you got to just push, where you got to take one more step. When life tells you it's quitting time, just take a nap, get back up, and take one more step, and then do it again the next day, and do it, and just keep on going. That's the whole never quit thing. It sounds so cliche when people say, yeah, just never quit. Like literally, like it's true. Just don't quit. Do not stop. Just keep going. I promise you, life will reward those who are brave enough to continue forward, because that's the whole thing about faith that the cycle will come back up. You know, the whole circle of life thing on the Lion King is not just about food. It's about literally life is a circle. It's going to hit a bottom, and it's going to come back up, and then it'll come back down, and it'll come back up, and it just keeps going. Experience the roller coaster, understand it's a roller coaster, be comfortable with it, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, keep pushing forward, and I promise anyone can make it to wherever they would like to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Now, I have another question for you before we wrap up here, because this has been an awesome conversation. I could talk to you for days, but I know you got other things going on. And this is going to be completely different than what we've been talking to. I'm just curious, and I think people would think it's funny, or they'd be curious too. So you're a professional driver. You know, you've been on TV. All this stuff is good. Do you have like a lot of gold diggers hitting you up on Instagram?
You know what? I don't. I do have a funny story on that actually, but you know, I have a girlfriend. She's awesome. You know, we've been together last 3 years now, or 3 years now. 3 years here next week.
Oh, congratulations!
But, yeah. So no, she's been really great. Super supportive of everything I've been able to do. She's been awesome. Now, as far as people like reaching out to me like on like Instagram, like gold diggers and stuff like that, I haven't had it much, but the funny thing is, a couple years ago or so, or 4 years ago, I think. No. 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I put out this joke on Facebook, and I made this. There was this website where you can create like a fake article, and it looks like a real article, and you can put it out. So I was just joking around because I'm a joking type person, and I was like, hey, I'm just gonna make a little fake article real quick and write it up, and it's gonna be like this big sponsorship announcement. And I was gonna say Microsoft is gonna sponsor me for $50 million for the next 3 years. So the headlines of the article was Microsoft signs deal with naval officer racing in NASCAR for $50 million over the next 3 years. And that was the headlines. I think maybe only one or two people actually went into the article, and thousands of people just read the headlines and liked the post, started sharing it. It went viral. It was crazy. And it's so funny, the DMs I started getting right after that. There was one person who reached out, some lady from San Diego or something like that, sent me a DM. He's like, oh, hey, Jesse, we used to talk in San Diego a few years ago, you know, just reaching out to see how you're doing, all that stuff. I'm like, looking, and I save everything. I don't delete anything. I don't delete any messages on any social media. I don't delete any text. Like I have text dating all the way back to 2011, like when I first got an iPhone. Like I saved everything. So I immediately was like, what? But I look through my phone, I type in the name, I'm like, I don't even have this number saved. I don't have any text from this number. I was like, it's so funny how people all of a sudden they see this money number, all of a sudden they start running. And I was like, wow, people really, it really does happen. Like there are true gold diggers out there. But since then, no, I don't really experience that. I don't think people don't really, they don't really cross me in that type of way because I don't put out anything that would incite that type of stuff.
Right. You're not a flashy guy. Yeah. You're not
Yeah,
flashy.
yeah. I mean, I love cars. I mean, I have some cool cars, and I show those a lot, but I don't show them in a way where it's like, oh, hey, look at my cool car. It's more like, hey, like I actually love this car. I actually know everything about it, and I'm building it, and I'm a car guy. So, like, you know, like, I mean, eventually I'll have a Lambo and this and that, but not because I just want a Lambo to say I have a Lambo. I want a Lambo because I understand everything about a Lambo, and I know why it's a great vehicle and I'm going to use it to its maximum potential. That's why. But yeah, no, I'm not. You won't see me like with nice watches and this and that. I go buy clothes once every few years. I don't. I'm just not super like flashy in any kind of way. I mean, I what I'm wearing right now, I'll probably wear this literally until there's holes in it. So it might be 10 years before I finally give this shirt up. So
Yep, I feel it. No, it's funny because I feel the same way about the Tesla Roadster, where I want that car not just to flex that I have a Tesla Roadster, just because I love the car. I think it's awesome and it's fun. And yeah, I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy 99% of the time. I'm not out trying to flash anyone, but I did. I was in an article. It was actually like I was interviewed for it last year, but it was published this year, and it was on CNBC. And the headline was something like "Millennial Millionaire," something like that. And dude, I got some pretty thirsty DMs.
Oh my god, yeah. The moment you tack on millions or something like that, yeah, people will start coming out of nowhere. So I've just learned in life is just like just be quiet about kind of what you have, like, and just because it's man, people. I mean, it's great to hopefully inspire people, but then it comes with some of the issues with it, and it's just like, you know what, let me just slide through.
Yeah, no, and I will say too, like I have an amazing wife. We met when we were 19. At the time, I was completely broke when we met. We met in college, and it literally took me, I think, 2 months to save for our first date. And she didn't care; she just wanted to spend time with me. So she's incredible. But there are some people out there that just see that, and yeah, I got some pretty graphic messages. I got some pictures, and it was, dude, it was mind blowing. And actually, I think that's why a lot of unfortunately, there are a lot of good men today that are shying away from marriage because just because of all the crap and the potential downside of getting with someone who just wants you for your money and success. And then if that goes away, so do they. So there's a lot of young men who are kind of shying away from marriage, which young men, to those listening, there are good women out there. And actually, I think most of them are good too. Like most of them are good. But the ones that you'll draw attention from flashing your watches and your money, you're going to be drawing the wrong kind of woman.
You got to be a judge of character. That's the biggest thing. Like, yeah, the bad ones are going to be out there, but you as a person have to be a good judge of character. You got to see, okay, what is attracting this particular person? Why did they initially reach out? And then also too, like, I mean, some people, there's guys out there who love to spoil their lady. I think at first, when you're first getting with someone, you're trying to know them, it's probably I don't think it's a great idea to try to spoil them at all. I mean, yeah, obviously you can pay for, dinners and things like that. But I mean, there's people like, and, first week, they're trying to go buy them, like this, $500 purse, $1,000 purse, or whatever, something like that. Like week one, month one, and it's just like you're sending all the wrong messages because you got to understand. You got to figure out some way to understand, hey, does this person truly care about me? Like, am I buying the love, or are we creating love? And if you can create it, and money is never a factor in that thing, then you understand you actually have something. But if money is the part that's creating excitement, in items and things, and that's not it. Like I always even with my girlfriend, like we started dating, we never bought anything for each other at all. We just like spent time together. We started understanding each other, and she's went through a lot. I mean, when I first met her, we went on a date, and a day or two later, she found out she had thyroid cancer, and this is like, I within a few days of me meeting her, and I decided, okay, there's two ways to go. I could be an a-hole and just dip because I don't really know her like that, or I could be like, you know what, maybe I need to stick through this. Maybe I need to understand how to be a real human being and stick through this and figure out where this is going to go. And I did. She's gotten through it. life's a lot better. And I helped her through it and all that stuff. And we're still here together, a few years later. So it was well worth it. Whereas, she I knew she wasn't, here to try to, live off of me being in NASCAR and all that stuff. And, I wasn't there just to, have a toy on the side or whatever, it's just, we cared about each other in all the right ways for the right reasons. And it had nothing to do with money or status in life or wherever we were at or fame and whatever. It had nothing to do with that. It was great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, and you have a strong relationship because of that. And it's funny you mentioned the designer bag, because this is after I was already married, but I bought my wife, I don't know, $500, something like that, designer bag for not her birthday, not an anniversary, just to surprise her, just because I have the money now and I can do that sort of thing. And I gave her this bag and she was furious that I would spend $500 on a purse. She was so mad, bro. Like literally she took the purse, she returned it immediately. She got all the money back and she bought like a $60 purse from Macy's. And she was like, I don't need a designer handbag, never spend that kind of money on a stupid purse. And I was like, oh, all right, this is kind of cool. Like she just saved me $500.
Yeah.
So
no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's very, very good. You're with the right person. That's good. Yeah. So for anyone out there listening, that's how you find the right person right there. Someone who cares about your finances. Who's like, I'm not gonna let you just blow money or something, because there's a bad culture out there right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jesse Iwuji, you have been awesome. This has been this is probably my favorite interview I've ever done, because you're so like multifaceted. You are a true Renaissance man. You just seems to be good at everything, at least good at a lot of things. Is there any sort of last piece of advice you'd like to leave the listeners with before we finish for the day?
Those who are listening are probably those who are dreamers also, who are wanting to go after something big in life, something bigger than wherever they're at right now. Like I said earlier, life is a cycle. So understand, even in the darkest point of the night, the sun will rise. So don't let the bad times, don't let the dark times be something that deters you from wherever you're at. Setbacks are setups for phenomenal comebacks. And you just have to keep pushing, no matter where you're at, what you're going through. Trust me, there's other people in way worse conditions. So just push through, grind through, try to find creative ways to move up. Your journey might be slow, it might be fast. I don't know. We all start in different places, but just play the card you're dealt. Play the cards that you're dealt. I promise you can get to the end. Just keep trying, keep pushing through, and just understand that quitting is the only way that life and your journey will end.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. And to anyone who wants to follow Jesse, all of his social media links are posted down below. And so you can go find him, follow him, subscribe to whatever he's got going on. And thank you again, brother, so much for coming on. This was by far just a phenomenal interview. And it was such a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was fun, good times. And hopefully it's inspired some people to go after their goals and dreams. And hopefully they eventually achieve success and then inspire others too.
That's right. Get your whiteboards out. It's time to write some goals, everybody. Peace. Yep.